Thank you for that really wonderful introduction, Nancy, and the warm welcome. And I'm so excited to be here and to meet you all. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about your research and teaching interests. I have to say, I know that that's been kind of a long transition, and so really before I say anything about myself, I just would really like to say a heartfelt thanks to Molly, who's really making Molly's sacrifice and staying in this position. It's really made it possible for me to make this transition the way I wanted to do. And I have a lot of, I'm very worried about what I'm leaving behind, that the Center on Women and Public Policy will be disappeared, and so I'm really trying to leave the projects that I started in the best possible position that I can, and strengthen them in the community and do some grant renewals and things like that. But the other thing that I've been working on is I've been on sabbatical, and I'm trying to finish 2 books. And one of them is on gender and judging, which some of you might have been interested in a little bit this summer. And I work on women judges, but really the book is trying to be an exemplar of what gender analysis could be in a lot of dimensions. And so I'm a political scientist, and pretty much the only question political scientists can think to ask about women and judging is whether women judges decide cases differently from men, and so sex is a variable, and they run regression analysis, and they keep finding that they don't really, but they keep doing it anyway. And saying that they do, even though they found that they didn't. And so the book is really tries to take a different jurisdiction and say, well, what other ways can we use a gender analysis to illuminate judging? So I, for example, have a chapter on the UK, and I try to look at the question of agenda setting. How did suddenly an all-male bench come to be a political problem in the UK, and why did that happen so much later than in Canada and the US? So I sort of say you can't really understand agenda setting without really taking seriously gender. And then I look at the European Court of Justice and look at the question of representation. So geography and nationality is really important in terms of representation, but why isn't gender an important thing that needs to be represented? And I try to do that throughout the book. So I'm sure if political science is true to itself, that it'll be pigeonholed or just of interest to people who do women judges. But I'm actually trying to make kind of a larger challenge to the discipline about how gender illuminates all the questions that we ask in public policy. And then the other thing I'm trying to do is finish a book on public policy teaching cases that we produced and they're currently all free on the center's website, but we want to produce them as a publication. So that's sort of what my area of interest is. I've already been talking about teaching, but I'm not going to be teaching immediately in the spring, so that I can kind of make up for my lost time and really throw myself into the job. And as Nancy says, I really, I was wooed into this position. I didn't really go looking for it. And of course, every time I came down, everybody was so terrific, and the job was so fantastic, and the opportunities so vast that, of course, I was completely seduced by you all into not being able to imagine any other future for myself but this. So we're kind of, I'm an Iowa girl, and I actually went to the University of Iowa. That was my first institution. So I'm leaping off a cliff, and like many of you have done, and I'm really looking forward to joining this community and working with you all. And I'm just so heartened by this fabulous turnout, and every time I come down, I'm more and more convinced that I made the right decision, and that I really feel that, you know, a lot of things have changed in women's education. A lot of the women's colleges are closing or shrinking, like our own St. Catherine's in St. Paul, Minnesota. And a lot of the coordinate campuses are really reconfiguring themselves and rethinking what their missions are. But yet the institutions, like the ones that I went to, some of whom, like the University of Iowa, had women students from the get-go, and others, like Magdalen College, Oxford, and Princeton, had to be dragged kicking and screaming to let women students in, and said, you know, you can come, but we're not going to change anything for you. And we all know that all the problems remain. And so I really feel that the Newcomb College Institute has the opportunity and has the resources with all of you to say we're in a position now to redefine what the face of women's education is for the 21st century. And we're going to take leadership of that, and it's not going to be lost in some sort of sameness integration, but we're going to try to figure out what's the new form to take this really powerful legacy forward in a new kind of structure. So I'm really excited about the opportunities, and I just delighted to be down here, and I'm really looking forward to meeting the rest of you and learning more about your work. So thank you very much.